Hello everyone, this is Miss Stone and I'm going to be explaining the CLT testing results for your child today. We're going to take a look at a sample testing report and I will walk everyone through each of the different components for the report. So first of all, in our testing email, you would click on your child's linked testing report. It should bring you to a screen that looks very similar to this. If you notice, you should see CLT and the grade level that corresponds with your child. This is spring 2024. So now we're going to break down each part of the testing report. So the first section you want to notice is verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning. So our CLT test measures reading, writing, and math. And the reading and writing grammar portion is comprised in the verbal reading. And so if you click on the I here, you can see that verbal reasoning is scored on a scale of 150 to 300. The closer your child is to 300, the better they did on the test. The same thing is true for quantitative reasoning. The composite score that you see is a combination of both verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning. And then the composite Stay9 score would be on a scale of 1 to 9. And so if your child is measuring from 1 to 3, they would be considered below average compared to the national norm. If they are measuring from 4 to 6, they are in the average zone, and Stay9 7 to 9 are above average. Again, this would be compared to the national norm, not only students at UCA, not just students that take the CLT, but a national norm standard. All right, so let's talk about percentiles for just a few minutes. The Lexile percentile measures your child's percentile in reading. And so if we click on the I here, there's a lot of good information on Lexile.com, but this evaluates their reading ability and text complexity on the same developmental scale. And we added our CLT book list for each grade through our summer reading program information, and so you should see that as well. Feel free to click on those links for more information. But if your child is in the 87th percentile, remember that's not percent correct. That is compared with all third graders who took this test, that they are measuring 87% higher on their reading score than their peers. And so if you see a 50 percentile or higher, you're in a good place. Your child's in a good place with their reading abilities. This number here, 935 Lexile measure, is a standard that we use across testing. So a Lexile report might be on an EOG in public school. It might be on the CLT, but this is a universal standard that schools and testing companies use to measure reading ability. So again, 87th percentile would be on the higher range. If we look at math and the quantile percentile, again, we'll click on the I here for more information. This says the quantile framework evaluates mathematics ability and the difficulty of specific skills and concepts on the same developmental scale. I encourage you to check out quantile ranges for grade levels, and again, you can click on this link here for more information. So our student sample right here, this student scored in the 92nd percentile. And so that means that this student was scoring higher on their math exam portion than 92% of their peers. Again, we have a similar measure here with a 755 quantile measure, roughly the same type of measure as the Lexile, but for math. And so we'll scroll down on the report. And so now in this next section, you see a breakdown of a few things. And so we'll talk about this as well. Again, feel free to click on the I for more information, and this will explain each of these in detail. Typically, we want to see above or at a 3 in content and above or at a 3 in reasoning. And so this is your verbal reasoning, which would be reading and writing. And then you have quantitative reasoning, which would be your math scores. And so Content would be questions on the test that are basic level questions. Your reasoning would be questions that are more advanced, higher level thinking, and the same thing would apply to math. In fundamentals and secondary, this breaks down a percentage correct. So this student in fundamentals was 76% correct, and in secondary questions was 89% correct for reading. The same thing would be true for math. I will say that we really want to see our fundamental score higher in math. Secondary scores in math being a little bit lower are not problematic, mainly because math builds on itself, and you're able to see improvement at the next grade level with those higher level skills they might be lacking in the secondary. When it comes to verbal reasoning, though, if you see that your secondary score is higher, that's not necessarily problematic. It just means that they're able to reason at a higher level. And in fact, this student would be gifted in their verbal reasoning if secondary is a little bit higher. Okay, so scrolling down, this is the fun section. And so you've got two boxes here. One is improvement. And these are broken down by certain skills, but these would be the lowest percent correct that your student earned on the test. So again, this is breaking down percent correct, not percentile. Top domains would be, these are your child's best performing subdomains, the ones they got the most questions right. And you'll see here, this student was 100% correct in their writing concepts and skills. 90% correct in all of reading comprehension, and 89% correct in arithmetic and operations. The lower strands over here would be mathematical reasoning is at the lowest at 60%. So this gives you a snapshot of what your child's excelling in and what they're really struggling in. And so we'll actually break down a little bit more here. This graph shows you kind of a layout of things in a bar graph form. So this essentials of grammar, 70% correct, all the way up to the best one for this child, which was writing. This is their arithmetic and operations. But over here, this is where I want to focus for the next few minutes. This is my favorite part of the testing report. So this is percentage correct by domain and subdomain. If I notice the breakdown here, the blue would be your verbal reasoning. Again, the orange is mathematics. But this child earned 100% correct in writing concepts and skills in both style and word choice. So they're not struggling there at all. They did really, really well. I want to look at one thing that they're struggling with. And so I'm going to click on mathematical reasoning at 60%. If I break this down, I notice this student, logic for them is not the problem. They have 100% questions correct in logic. But word problems is where they're struggling at only 50% correct. So I would like to click on that, and I'm going to be brought to this page. Remember what grade level your child was in. So we were in a third grade skill area and sample question. And so CLT has linked problem areas and subdomains for this particular subset. And they would give you an explanation of what kind of questions are on the test. So this would be an example of what this child might have missed. And so here's the question. There would be, if you scroll down, there's more about, here's a geometric word problem they might have seen on the test and they got wrong. And this is just a great resource for parents and teachers, for you at home and for us here at school, to know how we can help your child further in the future. And so I would encourage you, and we'll go back to our report here. Again, how I got there, I clicked on word problems. I was able to open up that screen and show exactly what types of questions the student was getting wrong. If we want to go to kind of a mid-range look, essentials of grammar, it'll break down exactly what substrand your child needs the most help on. So if we go to sentence structure and diagramming, this would be an example of a question your child might have missed on the test. And we encourage our parents to walk through this to see what your child's struggling with. And our teachers at UCA will also be having meetings about this as well, so how we can help our students in the future. And so that's a little bit of the testing report breakdown. Again, we'll kind of go back to the top here. Spring 2024, in third grade, we reviewed the verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, substandards, as well as the Lexile and Quantile. We discussed content, reasoning, fundamentals, and secondary. And again, our favorite portion of this testing report is how we can help our students in the future. And we break those down by subdomains from the actual testing report to see exactly how well our students are doing, but also how we can help them in the future. All right, well, thank you so much for listening. Again, this was for a breakdown for the CLT reports for grades 3 through 8. If you have a child in grades 9 through 12, I will post a second video about that for you to understand how those reports work. They're a little bit different. But if you have any questions about your child's results, please reach out to me at mstone@ucawarriors.com, and I will be happy to help you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer. Thank you, everyone.